Hey guys, welcome back to my podcast. I have some pretty good topics to discuss with you guys today, so we're going to get into it. If you've been following my podcast episodes, you know that I've been discussing season 4 of Stranger Things, so I'm definitely going to continue that. We're going to be talking about episode 9, which is the last episode of this season. So this is the finale episode. It's really, really long. It's 2.5 hours, so it's full movie length. So there's no way I'm going to be able to discuss everything in this particular podcast episode. So the Stranger Things discussion does not end here. I'll probably be talking about it for the next couple of weeks, to be honest. So I'm gonna have to split this up into a few parts. So stay tuned for that if you are tuning in to listen to me talk about Stranger Things. But there are a couple other things that I want to get into before we jump into that. Um, and then, just to let you guys know that I do upload same day. So if you're not able to watch me live, I go live every Tuesday on Facebook, and that's fine if you can't make it because I know a lot of people are working and in school at this time. But I do upload same day. So you can catch my podcast on YouTube, it's on my Facebook page. You can listen to me on Spotify or Anchor. All you have to do is just look up Tiffany's TVscape podcast and it should pop up. And then my Facebook is just my name, Tiffany McCoy. And then, yeah, you can go back and watch episodes if you missed anything or anything like that. So I would really appreciate it for anybody that does listen to me on Spotify if you could follow my page on there so that way you'll see when a new episode is uploaded. And then if you could give me a 5-star review, that would be great. I think it's just like the little stars. If you just press like 5, then that gives me a good review. So I would appreciate that. And then also, too, like I know some people will kind of tune into my podcast and they've said like, oh, I didn't comment, but I did like it. I appreciate that as well. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to, or if you're not really familiar with what I'm talking about, that's totally fine. If you just like it or let me know that you watched, like, I appreciate that all the same. So yeah. Anyway, let's get into the topics for today. So the first one is the trailer for the live action Little Mermaid movie dropped. And of course, everybody was talking about it. It was all over social media, it was trending on Twitter and everything. Um, so, this has been kind of a big Disney movie that's been, I think, anticipated for quite a while. We heard that Halle Bailey, who is playing Ariel, she got the role. I think it got announced sometime last year, or maybe even the year before that. So we kind of have been knowing about that. Um, and if you guys don't know who Halle is, she is a part of a singing duo called Chloe and Halle. She sings with her sister. She came up under Beyonce, so she has a really, really, really nice voice. Both her and Chloe do, and when we found out that she got the role, it was like, for people that already knew her music and stuff, we were just like, oh my god, like she's gonna kill this because she has a beautiful voice. But unfortunately, there was a lot of controversy around it when it did get announced. Um, and I'm just gonna be real with y'all. It's because she's black. Like people will try to talk around it and say, well, no, I just don't think like she was the best one to play the role, or I think it could have gone to so and so, or it's because of this. But it's like, it really just comes down to race, unfortunately. And it's frustrating because you would think we would be past that by now, but of course, I guess we're not. Um, so yeah, there was some controversy when it was announced that she was playing Ariel, and then now that the trailer has dropped, that controversy is kind of stirred up again, and people are having the same arguments. And really, the trailer is not even a full trailer; it's like a teaser trailer. It's very, very short. We really didn't get to see much of anything. So they're probably still keeping it under wraps because I'm sure they kind of want it to be, I guess, a surprise for people, although we most people know the story of the Little Mermaid, but obviously this is like the first big live action movie that we're getting from it. So that's gonna be different and stuff. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to mention that because I feel bad for Haley that she's getting this pushback. I think the majority of the people that have reacted to the trailer or that found out that she was Ariel have been positive, but of course you're gonna have people that are gonna be hating and saying that she didn't deserve the part or they didn't want to see her play it or whatever. And so hopefully she's not saying those comments or anything, but I just kind of feel for her because that's not cool. It's one thing to have constructive criticism about it, but for it to just straight up be about her race, I feel like that's really ignorant and it's just a really dumb argument overall. And even if you want to say, well, it's because of constructive criticism, it's kind of like, how can you say that when the movie is not even out yet? And we literally just got a trailer, and the trailer is very short. So it's like judging her off of like a 30-second trailer doesn't really work because we haven't seen the movie in its entirety, and we won't see it until next year. May of next year is when it comes out. So but yeah, let me know like what you guys thought about it. If you've seen the trailer, if you haven't, it's up on YouTube. I'm sure you can find it. um like, are you excited about it? Are you looking forward to it? I'm definitely going to go see it in theaters because I really want to support her, because I know this is like a big role for her, and it's a big deal to have a black Ariel. Like, we've never had that before. So, um, yeah, that's probably like the first Disney movie I've been excited about in a while. And I think everybody remembers like the original animation in the 90s. That's definitely the one I grew up watching. I had it like on VHS tape, I had like little mermaid sheets and everything. So yeah, it's a big deal. It's a classic, classic Disney movie. But yeah, I just the controversy around it. It's just like it's so unnecessary, and I really wish people would just hang it up. Like, if it's that big of a deal to you and you really are upset about her being Ariel, then just don't go watch it. Don't see it. Like, nobody's forcing you to watch it, really. And just ask yourself why you are really upset. Like, if you're saying it's not about her race, why are you really upset? Because it just doesn't make sense to me. Um, because if you really want to get technical about it and you want to go back to the original source material, because it was a story first, it's like a really old folk tale that was written back in like the 1800s. From what I've heard, I've never read the original story, but from what I've heard, the original does not specify her race, like whether she's white or black or anything like that. So it's kind of like, if the original author didn't say that, then you can't really go, oh, well, she's supposed to be this. Like, we're just really, people are really just going off of the animation that came out in the 90s, because that Ariel was obviously white and she had like pale skin. And so people, I guess, just wanted to be that, but it's like that came out a long time ago, you guys. Like, art and entertainment is always pretty much subjective, and it's up for interpretation for the most part. As long as her race is not integral to the character or to the plot line, to the story as a whole, then it doesn't really matter. Her being black does not change the fact that she's a mermaid. It doesn't change the fact that she wants to be a part of the human world. It doesn't change the fact that she's going to fall in love with the prince. Like, all that stuff is still there, I'm sure. Like, all the big parts of the movie, I'm sure, are still there. Like, it really doesn't matter that she has brown skin. You know what I mean? Like, and this has just been really dumb reasons why people were saying like she shouldn't be in. I remember like at one point people were saying like, well, Hallie doesn't have red hair. Like, how is she gonna play Ariel? And I'm like, have you never heard of hair dye? Have you never heard of editing? Like, this is a Disney movie, you guys. I'm pretty sure they have the budget to make her have red hair if they want to do that. So again, just the reasons are not aligning, they're not adding up. And for the people that are trying to say it's not about race, it is about race. Like, be real about it. um yeah, so like I said, if it's that big a deal to you, then just don't watch it. Like, we don't want you at the theaters anyway, because we don't want to hear people complaining about it. Like, it's a Disney movie at the end of the day. It's supposed to really be for, I mean, it's supposed to be for families, but it's really supposed to be for kids. And I think what's really great about this is that it's going to give kids today and the next generation like, you know a movie to look at and see a black mermaid. Like, that's really a big deal because we've never seen that on such a huge screen like this before. And I've already seen like reactions to it. Like, people were putting it up on TikTok of like their children reacting to it for the first time, and a lot of black and brown kids were like really excited to see that. So, see, like, representation is really important. And I've kind of touched on this before, I think, when I was discussing another movie in one of my podcast episodes, but it's really important. Like, people don't realize how much it is. I think it's important on screen and behind the scenes when it comes to like TV and film and everything, but especially for something like this, it's really important for kids and just like the youth to see that. um so just for that alone, I'm excited for it to come out, and I'm excited for Hallie because I think this is a really big move for her career. Most people know her as a singer, but now we're going to get to see her act a bit more. And yeah, I think this role is going to really cement, like, people are going to know her as like Ariel now. once it's out. I'm sure like kids are gonna know her as Ariel, like when they see her in person, which I think is really cool. So I'm excited for her. I don't even remember who else is all a part of the cast, to be honest. Like I'm sure they said who it was, like who's playing the prince and everything, but I think the biggie is gonna be her for sure. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely gonna go see it in theaters. Hopefully you guys go too to support it. If I'm still doing the podcast at that time, because that's like 8 months away, I'll definitely do a film review about it and let you guys know like what I think or how it turned out or whatever. But it's definitely going to be once it hits theaters. Just remember I said this. It's going to be all over the place. Everybody's going to be talking about it. And it's probably going to be like on the news and everything like that. Just watch. Just you wait and see. But yeah, like I said, just let me know like if you guys have seen the trailer, what you think about it. Um, Maybe like what you're expecting from the movie, what you think will change for the live action movie compared to the animation, besides the fact that Ariel is black in this one. Do you think there'll be any like major changes or something that you think they should change? I don't know. Um, but yeah, I am really excited about it. And another argument too about that is like the fact that the Little Mermaid is a fictional story, you guys. Like it's not real. Ariel is not a real person. There's no such thing as mermaids. Like it's not real. It's all fictional. And if you look at something like, let's say, like you look at Hamilton, which is a big Broadway show. If you haven't heard of Hamilton, you've definitely been living under a rock because that's like huge. It became like a whole phenomenon. It came out in 2015, and I love it for sure. I went to go see it live. But that whole Broadway show is about real people. That is a history play, basically. It's about the founding fathers of America. So as we all know, the founding fathers, all of them were white, and everybody that's a part of the main cast of Broadway is not white. Like they're all black, brown, Latino people. Lin Manuel Miranda, who wrote Hamilton, is definitely not white, and he plays Alexander Hamilton in the play. And for something like that, I could see people kind of being like, well, wait a minute, like, they're playing real people and the real people were white. Like if it was something like that, then I could see maybe people getting upset. And I'm sure, like, when it first came out, that people were probably questioning why he casted you know, a lot of non white people. But it didn't hinder it at all. Like, it ended up being really, really huge and really popular. And they made like a whole Disney movie about it. Like, it's on Disney Plus. And I'm sure they made a ton of money. And it's still on the road. Like they're still showing it. If you go like look up tickets, you could get tickets for it and everything. So it's like, how could something like that be so loved and appreciated, but then you have something fictional and people are upset about it? Like I just don't understand that. Like, tell me how that makes sense because it really doesn't. But yeah, enough about that because it's just so like I want to laugh about it, but at the same time, like it's really sad that people are really up in arms about a Disney movie. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm gonna go see it regardless. So anyway, next topic I wanted to get into was the Emmys came on last night. Keenan from SNL hosted it. I personally didn't watch it on the TV. I'm gonna be real, I didn't watch it on TV, but I was on Twitter and I was kind of like, scrolling and checking to see like what was going on because it was live updates happening, to see who was winning, to see like who was showing up on the red carpet. The main thing I really cared about was like Bill Hader and the Barry cast. I just wanted to see like what was going to happen with them, because I know they were a big contender for like a comedy series. And I talked about this in the previous episode. I talked about it when the Emmy nominations first hit social media and people were talking about it. So that was kind of the main thing I really wanted to see. So I didn't really like sit in front of the TV and watch the whole show, but I was kind of just on social media and seeing like what was happening. And unfortunately, you guys, Barry did not win. If you've been watching my podcast from the beginning, you know that that was what originally started the podcast, was me reacting. Or not really reacting, but me having a whole discussion about the TV show Barry. It's on HBO if you guys don't know, and I did a whole like episode by episode discussion when season 3 hit. So it's definitely one of my favorite shows, and I'm a huge fan of Bill Hader, just like as an actor and as a creative and everything. So to see them not win was kind of like messed up to me. Like I was a little disappointed, to be honest. I felt like they got snubbed. I know he's won in the past for like I think it was like leading actor in a comedy or something. I think he's won twice. So for that award, I wasn't really too upset. I was kind of just like, well, if it goes to somebody else, it's fine because he's already won that. But I really wanted him to win for directing because I know that's what he really loves to do. I think more than anything. And the fact that he's been able to direct more with Barry, and I think he's directing all the episodes next season, I felt like that would have been the big E for him, and he didn't get it. And it went to Ted Lasso, which is a show. I've never seen that show, but it's a show starring Jason Sudeikis. And Jason is friends with Bill, like they were on SNL together. So I'm pretty sure there was no like animosity or anything between them. I think they even hugged like when he won, but it was just like, really? Like that one for directing over Barry? Like, have y'all actually watched Barry? Like, and I'm saying this to the people of the Academy. Like, did you guys actually watch Barry? Because this season was like really, really good. Like, they took it up a whole notch, like a whole other level. First two seasons were great too, but like season three like really went there. And I just feel like for them to not win any of the major awards didn't really make sense to me. But I guess I'm biased because I really love the show and I love Bill and the whole cast and everything. But yeah, I was just like, oh, like that sucks. Um, Before I even continue my discussion, I did want to take a pause, quick ad break to let you guys know that my podcast is sponsored by Streann Media. So the way I'm able to go live every Tuesday with you guys, and the way I'm able to do this podcast is because I use the Streann Studio software. If you guys would like to check it out yourselves, you can go to studio.streann.com, and Streann is spelled with two N's. And yeah, it's all free. You can check it out for yourself. All you need is your email. They send you a login code and then you're in. And so you kind of mess around and see for yourself like what you want to do. It doesn't have to be podcasting. That's just what I'm doing. But they are pretty big on live streaming. So if you're able to do some type of content, um, that works with live streaming, I highly recommend that you use the Stream Studio software. You're able to live stream through pretty much all of the major social media channels. I go through Facebook, but if you wanted to do YouTube or like Twitch or something like that, you could do that as well. And when you make videos, the Stream Studio software records it for you, so that way you're able to save the file. And then if you want to put it on like TikTok or Twitter or anything else, really, it makes it so much easier to do that. So thank you to Stream Media for sponsoring my podcast. Um, and yeah, let's get back into the discussion. So yeah, I felt like they were snubbed at the Emmys. Little disappointing. I know there's some people that I follow on Twitter that are like hardcore Barry stands, and they were like for real pissed about it. So I'm like, sorry. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I mean, I'm not like super mad about it, but I'm kind of just like, come on, you guys. Like, really, they didn't give you guys anything. But that's not true. They did win some awards. I think I should have wrote it down exactly what it was, but I think it had to do with like behind the scenes stuff. So I know Wade Allen, who is the stunt coordinator for Barry, I think he won for stunt coordination, and then maybe a couple other people that work behind the scenes won. So at least they got recognized for the work that they do. But Bill didn't win. Anthony Kerrigan, who plays NoHo Hank, didn't win for like supporting actor. Henry Winkler didn't win. Sarah Goldberg wasn't even nominated, which I thought that was really dumb. And I don't even know if she was there, to be honest, but she definitely should have been nominated at least for supporting actress, because she's been like, I mean, she's a part of the main cast. She's been one of the main characters from the very beginning. She plays a very integral role into the whole show, I think. And her character is like very up and down, and just the way that Sarah Goldberg plays her is pretty good. So for her to not be nominated, I didn't understand that. And so yeah, nobody from the main cast won, unfortunately. But I know Bill was there, Anthony Kerrigan was there, and Henry Winkler was there because they were all sitting at the same table. I'm not sure if any of the other cast was there, but I know they were there. And I mean, they're probably okay about it, but the fans, we go hard for them, so we're just like, come on, you guys, like really, no award, nothing, like again, I wasn't like surprised that he didn't win for lead actor because he's already won that twice. Um, but the directing thing is where I was like, come on, man. Like, y'all should have gave that to him for real. Because if you really watched season three, and specifically, I think it's episode seven. It's either episode six or seven. Um, that was, I think, submitted specifically for the directing award. I mean, it was pretty good. Like cinematography was on point. Season three. Um, and I think the directing style that Bill did was like really, really cool and just different for a TV series. It felt very much like kind of like a short film, like you're watching a movie almost. Um, and there's a really big like chase scene in one of the episodes. I think that was what he submitted for the directing, and I'm just like, I haven't seen Ted Lasso, so maybe I shouldn't even talk, but I'm just kind of like, that one over Barry. I don't know about that. So yeah, you guys can let me know like what you thought. If you even watched the Emmys, and do you think they were unfair to the Barry cast? I feel like they were, but again, I'm biased because I love the show. Um, if any of you guys watch Ted Lasso, let me know if that's a really good show because I've never seen it, or if it's like worth watching. Um, I don't know. Like, tell me like why it's so good or why you love it if you watch it, and then on the flip side of that, though, there was some really great wins. A lot of Black women won some Emmys. Zendaya won for Euphoria. I think she's won before, but that was pretty cool to see because I know she's. I don't watch Euphoria to be honest, but I know her character is very like. I mean, her character has some problems. Like her character goes through it from what I've seen. So I'm sure that's not an easy role to play. It seems like a really emotional, like draining type of role. Um, and I think it deals with some pretty heavy topics and everything. So, and that's on HBO too. So, um, she won for that. So congrats to her. I was glad she got an award. And then Lizzo won. I didn't even know she was there at first. She won for, I think, a reality show that she put on, kind of representing like big girls and stuff in the industry, which I thought was pretty cool. And she looked really, really pretty in that red dress. And then Cheryl Lee Ralph, who plays in Abbott Elementary, she won. That was her first Emmy, I think. And y'all, she's been acting for a really long time. Like she's been in the game for like way longer than anybody else that's like anybody else that was like nominated, I think. So that was well deserved and probably overdue, to be honest. I think most people, I'm trying to think what most people would maybe know her from. I know her from Moesha because she played the mom in Moesha. But she was like in Sister Act 2. I think she was one of the original Dream Girls. She's been in a lot of stuff. So um definitely glad she won. And then who else? Oh, and then Quinta, who wrote Abbott Elementary, that's her show. She won for I think best writing or something like that. So really, really good wins for Black women. Like I'm really happy about that for them, especially for the people that never won before. So disappointed about Barry, but also like was glad to see them get some shine. Because like to be honest, a lot of these categories is all like white people, and it's just like, and I'm not saying because it's all white people that means they're bad. I'm sure a lot of them are like great actors and everything, but it's just like it gets boring when it's like the same people winning all the time or the same like dull thing winning. And it's like, come on, like they always preach about having diversity and everything, and they'll nominate like one brown person in the category, and then it's like they don't even get it. So I was glad to see that. I think that was definitely again well deserved for all of them, especially Cheryl Lee Ralph, because she's been acting for a really, really long time and she's a really great actress. And I haven't even seen Abbott Elementary. I heard it's really funny. A lot of people compare it to like The Office. That's another one of the shows that I feel like I might try to watch. I'll probably get into it like really late, but I think they just got renewed for season two. So maybe I'll try to catch up and watch season one. I don't even know what streaming platform it's on. Like I know it's on TV, but if you guys know like where to watch it at, if it's on Netflix or Hulu or something like that, let me know. I don't know. But yeah, so that was the Emmys. I don't know if like Stranger Things won for anything. I know they were nominated for some stuff. I didn't see anybody from the cast on there, but again, I was just kind of watching through social media, so I didn't see the whole thing in full. So I don't know. But you guys can let me know if like anybody else that was really big won, or anybody that you think got snubbed, like any actor or actress or show that you were like, yeah, they should have won and they didn't win. Let me know what you thought. I think another big win was um, there's a show called Succession. I think that's really popular. I think that might be on HBO as well. I'm not sure. Never seen it. I think the guy, the actor, I'm just saying, I don't even know these people's names. I think the guy that's in that show won over Anthony Carrigan because I think it was like a supporting actor um, role. So he won for that. And yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, Barry, they didn't get any of like the really big main awards. But again, we know people that watch it, we know it's a great show, and it really, when it comes down to it, awards are not like the end all be all. Like, it's still a really great show, and the critics have given it like A++. Like, it got like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes and everything, which is that's kind of why I'm confused why they didn't get any of the main award shows. I know a lot of like critics really like loved it, and usually critics just trash things, but they really love season 3, so I'm not sure what happened there. And then I heard too, there's a rumor that season 4 is the last season of Barry. I don't know if that's true. I kind of hope it's not because that makes me sad. Um, because that means like I'm pretty sure Bill is gonna follow the same format of it being 8 episodes. I think it's been 8 episodes for all 3 seasons. So that means when season 4 comes out, all we're getting is the 8 episodes and it's gonna be done. I'm just like, what? It's like, no, I don't want it to be done yet. Um, I feel like they can push for like an extra season, like just make a good 5 seasons, and then you can end the show and move on to something else. Because I don't want it to be one of those shows where it's like, they just keep going and going, trying to add new stuff, and at this point, it's just like it doesn't make sense anymore. Because some shows do that, and it's just like now it's just overkill because it doesn't make sense anymore, and you're trying to add in things um just for it to be like shock factor or just to keep people watching, and then it doesn't add up to what happened in like the first or second season. Like, there's a lot of retcon that'll end up happening, and it can be a little bit much when shows do that. Like, some of y'all might be mad at me for this, but like I think Supernatural has kind of done that. Again, was never really like a fan of that show, but I know it has a ton of seasons, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't think there needs to be that many seasons for that show. Like, to be honest, that show has gone on for a really, really long time, like way too long. So I don't want Barry to be like that, where it just keeps going, going, going. Um, but I am sad if it is the last season, season 4. So, but we'll see. I don't know. They're still filming right now. I don't even know when we'll get like a trailer or anything. Probably won't be until like next year. So, I'll keep you guys updated on that, I guess. Um, but yeah, I guess let's move on to the next topic. We're gonna talk about Stranger Things, which I know maybe some of you guys, that's what you've been waiting for me to talk about. So let's get into it. This is episode 9. This is the finale of season 4. Like I said in the beginning, it's a really, really long episode. So I'm gonna try to talk about a little bit of what happens in like the first, I guess in the beginning, or like the first I don't even. I was gonna say the first half, but not even the first half because it's super long, you guys. And for those of you that have seen season 4, you already know what I'm talking about. Um, but yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, like get ready because a lot happens and it's actually really emotional. Like, I know I cried, and I'm pretty sure like every YouTube reaction that I've seen of episode 9, there was like people tearing up watching it. So it's one of those episodes. So like, get your tissues ready, get your snacks ready, get your drinks or whatever it is, because it's a long one. Okay. Um, but yeah, so they pretty much with episode 9, they pretty much pick off where they left off with episode 8. Um, we're seeing like Yuri. I'm getting text messages. Sorry. We're seeing Yuri, who is with like the people in Russia. I try to split it up into like which crew they're in because there's so many things happening in different parts. So there's like the California crew, and then there's the Hawkins crew, and then there's the Russian crew. So the Russian crew is obviously like Joyce and Murray, and Yuri and stuff like that, and they're still in Russia at that prison, and they break out of it, but then when they're trying to get home, Yuri's kind of like sabotaging things because he's still just being like a douche. And he has this helicopter that he's like, hey, we could fly this and I can get you guys to America. But what he's doing is he's taking a piece out of the helicopter to make it where it won't work. And so unfortunately, he's the only one that knows about this type of stuff. Like, he's the only one that could fly the airplane. So, you know, it's kind of like, if he's saying it doesn't work, there's not really much that they can do. And they know he's full of it. They know he's doing that on purpose, I think. But it's just like, come on, man. Like, now you're just stalling things. Um, And so it kind of starts off with him doing that. And we see him like taking a piece from the helicopter and he's like putting it in his pocket, like trying to be slick about it or whatever. Um, and and while that's going on, then we see Hopper and Joyce have a really like nice and intimate moment. We haven't really been able to see that with them. Um, I think one of the best scenes in this season was their reunion when they first like saw each other and they hugged. And so I feel like this is kind of just a continuation of that because they hadn't really, been able to talk because so much was going on. But now it's like they're able to kind of, it's like one of those moments where things quiet down and you're able to talk to this person that like you haven't seen in like almost a year. And you thought, I mean, Joyce thought he was dead. So it's like I think all these feelings and emotions that have been building up for quite a while, and even before he disappeared, there was already kind of talks of them like going on a date, so there was already feelings there, and now we're finally kind of seeing that come into play. And so they finally kissed, which was like really sweet to see. And they were definitely like one of the ships that I was like rooting for this season. I feel like even more so than like the kids. I think with them it was just like, oh my god, like finally we're getting to see them together, because they just like literally do not have a moment to just be to themselves and to say what they want to say because it's just like something is happening like that. um and so yeah, definitely love that scene where they had to talk and they were talking about like going on that date that they promised each other, and then they kissed and of course they got interrupted, but that was a really sweet scene. I think I enjoyed that, one of the best scenes I think in this episode. um and then before I fully go into this discussion, because I feel like I'm going to be talking a lot, so just get ready. I'm going to be going at like rapid speed. I did just want to remind you guys that my podcast is sponsored by Stream Media. So anybody that's tuning in for the first time, if you're kind of like, what the heck is Stream Media? It's the Stream Studio software is what I use to go live and what I use to do my podcast. So if you never heard of them, you could go to studio.stream.com and check it out for yourself. You can also check out their social medias. They're pretty much on every like main channel if you want to go on their Instagram or their Facebook just to check them out and see kind of what they do. They pretty much specialize in live streaming. So if you are a content creator or you want to be a content creator and you really want to kind of dive into live streaming, I highly recommend using their software because it's really easy and simple to use. Like anybody could use it. I'm using it and I'm not a techie person at all. Um, and again, it doesn't have to be like a podcast, it can really be whatever you want to do. Um, but yeah, check it out for yourself and let me know if you use it, and then tag them as well just so they know that people are using the software. People So they know that people are using the studio. And there's all these like cool features that you can use that come along with it. And again, it's free, you don't have to pay for it. I believe they do have some type of like monthly subscription if you want to do that. But that is up to you. Otherwise, it is free. And I use it for free, so it definitely comes in handy if you want to do a podcast, if you want to do gaming, if you just want to make like videos or whatever, really anything that you want to do, you could do it. So yeah, let me jump back into Stranger Things. So let's go over to the Hawkins crew. So the Hawkins crew is preparing to go up against Vecna. They put their plan in. Let me say this right. They're putting their plan in motion. So at this point, they've kind of split it up so everybody has their own role to play. So like all the um I don't want to say that adults because they're not quite adults yet, but all like the older kids are going to the Upside Down. Plus Dustin, he goes too because he's teamed up with Eddie. They all go into the Upside Down, and the rest of them are staying in Hawkins, but they're going to Vecna's house, but they're in Hawkins, if that makes sense. So the plan is to use Max as bait. I mentioned that in I think the last episode that she offered herself up as bait, which was like, oh, are you sure you want to do that, girl? Because Vecna has there's a target on your back, so that's like really dangerous for her to do that. But I understand why she offered herself too, because it was like if it wasn't her, then they probably would have had to use like a complete stranger, and that wouldn't have been great. So um the plan is to use her as bait, and then they all, like I said, they all have their own role to play, and Nancy is kind of like leading it all. She's kind of just like, nobody moves forward until we know that somebody else did what they were supposed to do, and nobody deviates from the plan. Like, this is what we're going to do and this is what we're going to stick to. And it's all just like too good to be true, you know what I mean? It's like this is Stranger Things, so we know something's going to go wrong. And anytime somebody's saying like, we're going to stick to the plan, it's going to happen this way, it's not going to happen that way. So that was like, ooh, when she said that, I was like, I know something's going to go wrong. I know something's going to go wrong. Like, this is the finale. Of course something's going to go wrong. Like, there has to be conflict, there has to be some battles and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much what they're doing. Um, like I said, Dustin is with Eddie, and then like they're kind of like, I guess they're kind of using themselves as bait too, kind of like as a distraction. And so Steve and Robin and Nancy, they're gonna go head on against Vecna in the Upside Down, and then you have Max and Lucas and Erica. They're in Vecna's house, but they're in like the real world. They're in Hawkins. And yeah, and so it's intense, y'all. Like when they first started, it's like, oh my god, like what's gonna happen? I know something's gonna happen, I just don't know what. And it's just like, but they built it up really good though, and it flowed really nicely from like the last episode, from episode 8 into episode 9. And you just knew like this is the episode where everything's gonna go down, and it's like life or death at this point. And so back to, I shouldn't say back to, but jumping to the California crew, which is, Mike and Will and Jonathan and Argyle, and then they have Elle now. So in the last episode, they rescued Elle. Elle pretty much like blew up that whole helicopter. She got away from the military, and Dr. Brenner, aka Papa, is dead now. So she's free of him. And Dr. Owens, he last we saw him, he was trapped in the where they were doing the Nina Project ass. So I don't know what happened to him. I hope he didn't die. I feel like he probably didn't, but they really don't show him for the rest of the episode. So I feel like we'll probably find out in season 5. But I'm hoping he didn't die. I'm thinking that probably the military guy probably trapped him or something. I don't know. Hopefully he's not getting tortured. I don't know. I'm kind of scared for him though. But anyway, so they have they have L now, and now it's just we need to get back to Hawkins because there's all the stuff going on that we're not too sure about. All we know is that like our friends are in trouble. And L is pretty much, they kind of figure out that like we're not going to get back in time, so we need to do what we can do from here. And that's kind of the same thing with everybody in Russia. They're all in different parts, but they're all like, if we could do something to help everybody in Hawkins, then let's do it. So Elle comes up with a brilliant plan to fight Vecna in Max's head, which is kind of crazy, but it makes sense because Elle has always been able to do that. If you saw in, or again, this is why you have to watch earlier seasons for it to make sense. But if you saw in earlier seasons, probably season 1 and 2, I think, she's been able to kind of infiltrate people's minds and kind of see inside their heads. And so she's like, if I can get into Max's head, I can fight Vecna in there, because obviously Vecna is trying to get into Max's head. So once he's in there, then he's going to come face to face with Elle, and he's not going to be expecting that. So um, she's like, yeah, I can do it like that. Let's do it this way. But what they need for her to do that is she needs to be like in a tank full of water. It has to be a sort of like sensory deprivation thing where like she can block out the outside world and focus on what's going on in her head, basically. So Argyle comes up with a brilliant plan to take her to the pizza place that he works at. And they have, obviously, like in the back room they have like a freezer thing, and so they use that as like the tub, and they fill it up with water, and they're just prepping for her to be in there, and to pretty much fight Vecna mentally, which is kind of crazy, but it's like that was the only way that they were going to be able to do it, because if they tried to drive all the way back to Hawkins, they wouldn't have made it. So they're prepping for that, and then when they're prepping for that, there is a really really sweet and like emotional moment between Jonathan and Will, and I felt like that was really needed. Again, I feel like that was one of the best scenes of this episode. um as we know, and I've talked about this too when I was talking about Stranger Things, like how Will is really struggling mentally and internally. And I think, he's one of those characters that he's kind of like the shy one in the group, and he kind of keeps to himself. He doesn't really say like what he's feeling all the time. And so I think that was really good for him to have his brother to kind of lean on in that moment, to kind of just like, cry with him and hug him and all that kind of stuff. And I think people are upset because, again, we know that Will is battling with his sexuality. It's never explicitly stated that he's gay, but it's like at this point, that's most likely what it is. You know, if he's not gay, then he's definitely like bi, or he's definitely into guys, you know. Or I should say he's definitely into guys. He's definitely into Mike. So we know that. That's like been confirmed already. So while he doesn't have a whole coming out scene, you can kind of say that this kind of was that with Jonathan, because I think Jonathan knows more than what he's let on. And Jonathan pretty much just tells him like, "You're my brother, and like I love you, and nothing's gonna change that," you know. And again, I really think Will needed to hear that, because he hasn't really, I think he's really gotten that from his friends, and it's not really anybody's fault, because he hasn't really said that he needs that. You know, he gets it from like his mom and stuff too, because his mom, like, that's her baby, so she always gonna be like, you know, trying to protect him and everything and give him support. But I don't know, I just think that was really needed, because the relationship between John and Jonathan and Will has been kind of, I don't want to say strained, but it hasn't really been very present this season. I think it's because, you know, they're older, and Jonathan has been like hanging out with Argyle and getting high and all that stuff, and he's stressed about Nancy in college, and they're just in different places in their lives now, and that happens. You know, that's realistic. But I think, again, them having that moment was really needed, and I'm glad they wrote that into the scene, into the script. Um, so yeah, I really love that moment. You can let me know like what you think Jonathan meant by that speech that he gives Will. Do you think Jonathan knows that Will is gay, or do you think that Jonathan knows that Will is into Mike or something, or do you think he just kind of knows that something's going on with him and he's just not saying it? Like, what do you think? Because I feel like he knows more than what he's letting on or what he's saying. But he probably knows too that like if it is about his sexuality, he's not gonna push him to say like, just tell me like if you're gay or not. He's kind of just gonna be like, I'm here. Like if you want to talk to me, if you want to tell me something, if you need to get something off your chest, I'm here. And again, I'm glad they wrote it that way, and that it wasn't like him trying to force him to speak, because it's like, who really likes that? Like nobody wants to be forced into talking about something so personal, you know. And again, this is the 80s, so that was like a big deal um for him to be feeling that way and trying to come to terms with it and everything. And he's at that age where it's like you're just trying to figure out yourself. So yeah, really, really love that scene. And then back with the Hawkins crew, so they're in the house, and we get like cute little scenes between Max and Lucas. You know, they're broken up, and obviously there's still feelings there, or at least I know they still care about each other as friends. And so I think there's a moment where like, you know, they have to be silent because they don't want Vecna to know that that they're in the house. But there's a scene where they're kind of, you know, writing down messages and trying to communicate that way. And he asks Max out on a date, and again, that moment where it's like, you're asking her out on a date, but it's like, look what you're in right now. Like, let's just get through this. And you kind of already know that like something's gonna go wrong. Because if he's already trying to like make plans for the future, then you're like, they're not gonna get to that because something's gonna happen. At least that's the way I was thinking. I was just like, man, I don't know what's gonna happen, but all this stuff, like all the characters that were having like emotional moments, it was making you think like somebody's gonna die or something's gonna go terribly wrong, because they're just making this way to like, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like giving you that feeling of like something bad is going to happen. Um, and one of the bad things that happens is freaking Jason. So Jason, if you guys remember, is the jock. And at this point, he's kind of turned into like a villain. I would say, like, he really started off as like somebody that you had empathy for because he lost his girlfriend and everything. He was kind of thrown into all this and not really knowing. He doesn't know anything about the Upside Down or Vecna, or, you know, he doesn't know anything about that. So I felt bad for him, because it was like you lost somebody and now you're kind of losing your mind, because you're just like, well, what the heck happened to her? And nobody's really giving me any answers. So now he feels the need to go and find out on his own. But it's like, you don't know what you're up against. Like, you're up against something that's way beyond you, something that's supernatural, something that's very cruel, or say somebody that's very cruel. Like Vecna does not care about y'all, and he just doesn't know that. So at this point, he shows, um, or somebody tells him, somebody snitches and says that they're at the house, and so now he's like, okay, I'm gonna go over there and confront them, and it's like, really? Really, that guy that told Jason, like, why did you have to open up your mouth? You didn't need to say anything. Like, that has nothing to do with you. Like, that was none of your business to even say that. Anyway, but they had, like I said, they had to throw in conflict in there. So it's bad because Jason is on his way to the house where Lucas and Max and Erica are at, and they're trying to have, they're putting their plan in motion. And it's like, if he comes in and ruins it, that's going to throw everybody else off. And if it throws everybody else off, that means Vecna's going to know that they're in the house. That means Vecna's going to know that they're trying to come after him. And it's just going to all like crumble. So um that's really bad. And I'll get more into that probably in the next episode as to what really happens. But back to the Russia crew. So when they find out that things are going down in Hawkins, I don't think they know exactly what's happening, but they know that like it has to do with Elle and it has to do with her fighting against like another supernatural being. They're kind of just like, well, we're not going to make it to America in time. And again, it's kind of the same thing with the California crew where they're like, we're too far away, so we just have to do what we can do from here. And Joyce comes up with a pretty good idea of like, if we can attack like the demogorgons and all that kind of stuff, like it's all connected, it's all a hive mind. So if you attack the demogorgons, Vecna feels that. If you attack anything that's attached to the upside down, Vecna feels that. So basically they're just like, we're just gonna have to fight from here. And that means that they have to go back to the prison, which is like, dang, like y'all just broke out and now you gotta go back. But again, it's like all to serve the it's all like the purpose of it is to serve the greater good, to pretty much save Hawkins, to save their children, to save like everybody from destruction. Because it's like if they don't do anything, then nobody else is going to do anything. Like the police and everybody else, they don't know about it. They don't, and even if they did, they wouldn't know how to handle it. So it's like up to them basically. So at that point, they're like, Hopper's like, yeah, let's go. Like Hopper is a G this whole season. He's literally like, let's gear up. I'm ready to go and fight. We're going back into the prison. And even Murray's like, hold on, like, whoa, this is kind of dumb. Like, we just broke out. Like, you've been trapped in this prison for how long? And now you're trying to go back. But Hopper's like, let's go. I don't care. Like, he was down for it. Which is crazy. And then, with the Hawkins crew, with them in the upside down, all three of them are together, but then there's a point where like Robin is kind of separated from Steve and Nancy, and they did it on purpose because they wanted to give Steve and Nancy a moment. And they've been kind of having those moments throughout the season where they're talking and it's kind of intimate, and it's pretty much Steve just telling Nancy that like he's still into her and um that he sees a future with her, and like he's dreamed about having like a big family and he wants it to be with her. And it's just like, again, when you have moments like that in a TV show like this, you're just like, something is gonna go wrong, something's gonna go bad. Like, why are you guys doing this? And I was kind of scared for Steve because I'm like, he gets hurt every single season, so I'm like, you guys better not kill him off because he is my favorite character. But thankfully, he doesn't die. But again, it was just like, why are you guys doing this? I'm still not sure why they did that because she's still with Jonathan. Um, and it didn't seem like, I mean, there was moments where it seemed like Nancy was like kind of feeling what Steve was saying, like she kind of liked it, was kind of smiling a little bit, although she wasn't saying like, oh, I want to be with you too, or I've dreamed of that as well. But she was listening to what he was saying, and it didn't seem to turn her off, I'll say it like that. Like she didn't seem upset by it or deterred by it. Like I think she liked that he was saying that. So I'm just kind of like, what was the point of that? I don't know. Like, is it just to create a love triangle, or is it because they're gonna get back together in the next season? Is it because like Steve's gonna die in the next season? I don't know why they did that. I feel like they did that for a reason, and we don't know. Like, it's not really explained why he's confessing his feelings for her now. Like, 2 years later after they've broken up. Um, or I don't know if it's because Steve is lonely, maybe because I know he wants somebody. I don't know. Um, but yeah, they have another moment where they're walking in the woods. They're like in the upside down, and I know some people were like, "You guys are getting ready to fight Vecna. Like, why are you guys having these like intimate conversations? Like, it's not the time for this." But if you think about it, they're going into like, I mean, they're in dangerous territory. They're not even going into it. They're in dangerous territory, and it's like they don't know if they're gonna live or die. Like they don't know what's gonna happen. And if you're really in that moment, you kind of feel like you want to say whatever it is that's on. you want to get it off your chest because you might not see that person later on, or you might not be around. Who knows? So I kind of understand it. I know some people didn't like it, but I just don't understand. I understand why he wanted to get that off his chest, but I don't understand exactly why they're pushing Steve and Nancy together again. If she's still with Jonathan and we still don't, I don't know. It doesn't seem like she wants to like not be with Jonathan. I don't know. You guys, and I've talked about this before too. Like if you guys are, if you want her to be with Steve or Jonathan, or you think it's better for her to be single, or I don't know, because they're all going to be going off to college soon. So it's just like that can get kind of tricky. I don't know. Um, and then yeah, so I'm gonna kind of stop it right here because we're going on about an hour for this podcast. I don't want it to go on too long. And like I said, I'm gonna stop it right here before we get into the really juicy parts of the episode of like when they're full on like fighting Vecna, what happens and everything. So yeah, I'm gonna continue the discussion next week. So tune in Tuesday at 1 p.m. I go live on Facebook every week for those of you that don't know. And then again, I upload same day. So if you happen to miss my live, you can just go back to my social media pages and it'll be on there on YouTube, on Facebook, on Spotify. You can listen to it. And I'm gonna dive into like the big fights, the big battle scene that happens in episode 9, and why we were all crying, y'all. Like I'm telling you, it's emotional. Um, and yeah, I'm trying to think, is there anything else I want to say before I wrap this up? But again, going back to like the earlier discussions, let me know like what you thought about the Little Mermaid trailer. Let me know about the Emmys, like if you watched it, if you felt like Barry was snubbed, if you think that everybody who won deserved to win, whatever. Like whatever your opinions are, whatever you think, let me know in the comments. Or hit me up on social media. You can definitely tweet me on Twitter. I'm usually on there talking about like TV, movie, music, fandom, stuff like that. You can definitely hit me up on Facebook too, but if it's like fandom related, it'll most likely be on Twitter. So, but yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up, and I will see you guys next Tuesday as usual. And like I said, we'll be continuing the discussion. So get ready, y'all. Get ready.